It's a new season on Smith Island. A new reverend is now leading the Methodist congregations.
With only 3 months on the job, Pastor Everett Landon admits he doesn't have all the answers just yet. But in tonight's Heart and Soul, WBOC's Kimberly Wiggins shows us how his past could be the link to helping guide the island's future.
Pastoring on Smith Island requires a special set of skills. Every Sunday morning, Pastor Everett Landon hops on his boat to reach the Methodist congregations on the island.
Faith is a big part of the island, of the community. Even people who may not have accepted Christ because it's such a part of the community and how we live.
He and his wife Carol Ann moved back home in June.
Monday through Friday, the entire family would gather in the crab shanty every day. Now that was really neat growing up.
Something the pastor's two youngest children, 12-year-old Elizabeth and 15-year-old Emma, are now experiencing. His oldest, Ross, is married with a newborn. The pastor's girls have more freedom here than on the mainland, including a later curfew.
What we had said to him, we said, well, we'll wait till 10 o'clock and see what happens. Because it's such a small community and we knew everyone looks out for each other.
The former waterman says Smith Island is where the seed for his faith took root.
That's where I was crabbing when God called me.
In case you were wondering.
There was no audible voice. Angels didn't descend and say, "Thus saith the Lord."
That year, at 22, Landon had graduated from high school but needed to attend college. He said crabbing had been difficult that year, so paying for seminary seemed impossible.
I sat to my desk night after night crunching numbers, but you know, 0 plus 0 comes up to 0. I said, you're the one asked me to do this, so you're going to have to make a way for me to go to college.
A few days later, local church trustees called him about a wealthy man who had passed and left money for a scholarship. He says that blessing paid for tuition, books, boat fare, even his food.
And that showed me that, you know, God said, when I call you to something, I will make sure that you have what you need.
His first appointment, Sharptown. 7 years later, he headed to Tillman Island for another 7.
Trust him and
be willing to listen.
Be willing to listen and obey, yeah.
And that's hard.
That is hard.
Also, just as difficult are the issues facing his congregation.
We know youth is an issue. You know, the other area, of course, is the future of the island. What does that hold? And, you know, only God knows that.
Landon's predecessor, Pastor Rick Edmond, lived here and led this congregation for 17 years. He filled many roles, lobbying Congress and even serving as an emergency point of contact during strong storms. Landon's ready, though his complete vision isn't quite clear yet.
If we stay, God's got it. If the island erodes and we have to leave, God's got that too.
And an old way of life is sure to guide them all.
I think growing up here and growing up on the water, as any waterman would tell you, you know, you have to be ready for the unexpected. And I've kind of find myself in my ministry doing the same thing.
On Smith Island.
Because I know it's not anything I'm doing. It's God working through me.
For Heart and Soul, Kimberly Wiggins, WBOC News.
Now, one of the pastor's personal goals for his congregation and those on the island is to help people live healthier lives. Getting fresh food to the island can be difficult. Residents often consume a large amount of processed and frozen food. Pastor Landon hopes to help change that someday.